The story begins in another world. Since the war that witnessed fighting during that period, and in order to escape the pressure, some of Milan's wealthy took refuge, and people left the city and built a house on the banks of the lake. They decided to settle down in a quiet village, and we are one of those families. Look at this strange family where Mary was the head of the household. Mary was much wealthier, and she owned a house on the banks of the lake. Mary owned a large mansion, and she was perverted. There is also a husband named Marco, and Marco is a playful and very vagrant type of man. There was a man who had stray people gathering around him. There was nothing else to do except that Mary knew everything about him. Therefore, she always kept a close eye on him. This is what we see with Marco and Mary. His younger brother's wife, Barbara, was also living there, whose husband went to war 10 years ago and never returned to Mary's luxurious mansion. There was a bedroom belonging to his great-grandfather, the bishop, which was sweeter than her lover. I came to visit the village of my ancestors. I used to do that in the past, but I drowned here in the lake. He died because of the villagers. According to the villagers, the secret of its sweetness was known to the bishop, so she was killed and thrown into the lake that we see. That Mario, after retiring from the army, started to feel very bored, so he still lives on his wife's money. He wanted to live the life of his youth where he was accompanied by many girls, and we discovered the physical relationship as well. And that Mario secretly admires Barbara, and anything that enables him to get closer to her, he can do, but he is afraid of his wife. The real reason why Mario cannot do that is because he still depends on his wife for money. He always depended on his wife Mary. One day, Mario kept pressuring him constantly, and he meets a boy named Marco, who was almost the same age as Barbara. We see that Marco, like Mario, was a vagrant in his boat on the lake to pass his time with his friends and enjoy their company. Regardless of his empty talk, he had no job, and he was always in his boat. Now, because Mario and Marco were very similar in nature, a strong friendship developed between them, and then Mario took Marco to his house for dinner. Then one night, when everyone was sitting and having dinner, Marco understood the matter. It seems that Mario has no place in this house. No, and Mary's word alone is what counts here. After that, everything became about Barbara's husband. Talk began about matters that had been ongoing for 10 years. They say he did not return from the war. He was married to Mary 10 years ago when she was 16 years old, and the very next day after the wedding, her husband went to war, so she is still a virgin. Therefore, Mary keeps a close eye on Barbara, and she looks like a bird kept locked inside a cage. This is where Marco saw Barbara in that state. She was not going, and she kicked him out of here. He wanted to take her to a far place where he would be able to establish a love relationship with her. After dinner, Mario was asked to have Marco stay the night here, and he was given the same room where Mary's uncle, the bishop, used to live. Marco was in that room, and Barbara was in the room that was clearly visible, satisfying herself. He wanted to establish a love relationship with her after seeing her, and even more so. The pain began to increase, and then the next day, he had to leave in the morning even if he did not want to. Then, when Marco left from there in his boat, Mario was going to take her with him to the lake. Marco asked to turn around, and he also got ready and then stayed in the lake for a long time. After wandering for a long time, Marco found Mario at his girlfriend's house, and he found her here and there too. A friend whom Mario frequented a lot, and then after that, he tried to have them all enjoy themselves naked on the boat. Here we see that after leaving the army for many years, a new stage entered Mario's life. That day came when he enjoyed himself openly, so he thought about it a lot. Then one evening, Marco was overcome by an emotional feeling. He went out to bring things, and when he returned home, he saw that Mario was there with his girlfriend. When the love relationship began, only then could you ask. Marco's girlfriend told him that Mario could not sleep at night because he was having nightmares, so she told him that, and he forced her to sleep with him. Now, from this action by Mario, it is clear that Marco realizes that Mario is a very lustful man, and to quench the thirst of his body, he can establish a love relationship with anyone, even if it is his girlfriend. But this did not affect Marco much, because he cared more about his girlfriend, and it was not serious with Mario. After Marco stayed on his boat for a few days, he returned home, and he returned to his wife Mary. She went out with Marco without telling him, and he cannot face his wife after his return. He wanted to do that, so he avoided going to his house. There was some hesitation, but he went out of his house. He looked through the telescope into the distance, and he saw that there was Mary's female cousin with her 2 young daughters. She has come now because Mario has his desires, so he found 2 more victims to eliminate, so he immediately returned to his house, and after that, he took these 2 young girls on a tour under the pretext of showing them his boat, and then he performed the same indecent act with them as well. He began to act strangely, but then and suddenly their father arrived there, and saw Mario doing this, and he was abusing Mario a lot, and he took his 2 daughters from there and left. At the same time, Marco was present and watched Mario doing that, and then Marco told Mario that he feels very distressed, and that he is a first-class pervert, and sometimes he thinks about his love relationship with his daughter too, but he threatened him that if he ever casts an envious glance at his daughter, if it were up to him, he would use this wood-cutting weapon, and he would cut off his private parts. Mario at night, after being humiliated, went to see Marco and told him that he and Barbara love each other very much, but because of his wife Mary, they do not have a love relationship. Mario wanted to make love with Barbara, so he asked Marco to take Barbara to his boat, but let's come and see. Marco asked his girlfriend to call her onto the boat so that Barbara would find her company. And then the next day, the 4 of them were scheduled to be seen on the boat where Mario is very close to Barbara, enjoying our time. But in the meantime, Barbara and Marco exchange hints through gestures, and when they get the chance, they go together, and a love relationship develops between them. After that, Mario went to his house, and booked a hotel room for Barbara where he established a love relationship with her. There was a full plan to be there, and Marco was also on the boat, but with his girlfriend, he could not sleep, so he stayed up until late at night. He went out into the city streets, and there while he was walking, his eyes fell upon a man who makes him look exactly like Mario, and the man was walking very fast on his bicycle to some place. He will leave, but Mary does not know about it, and he did not pay much attention. Then the next day, when everyone was eating in the restaurant, suddenly the police officer arrived and told Mario some bad news. He narrated that his wife Mary died by drowning in the lake, but looking at them, it seemed as if they did not care much about Mary's death. After that, the police also investigated Mary's death, and Mario participated in the investigation, and during that, the police found a letter in Mary's hand, written by Mario himself to his wife, in which Mario confesses his love for Barbara. He mentioned that, and perhaps this is the reason why Mary was upset, so she committed suicide. After that, the police labeled the case as a suicide case and closed it. Then after a few days, Mario and Barbara got married, and they are busy with their married life. Marco is also going through this stage in his life. He has gotten over it, but now he has separated from his lover. Then one day, Marco visited Mario and Barbara, and he returned home and discovered that the relationship between Mario and Barbara is not going well, and that there is something between them. When Mario went out for a while, Barbara told Marco that according to her, it was not Mary who committed suicide, but rather Mario killed her. So Marco replied saying that he feels the same way too, because that night he saw a man who looked exactly like Mario, and it seemed like perhaps Mario that night returned to his house and he himself drowned her in the lake. Then one day suddenly, a man came to Mario's house, and it was none other than Barbara's husband, John, who had been missing for all the past 10 years, he has been found now. Everyone was shocked upon seeing this, but we learned that he did not come for Barbara, but rather because he received the happy news from his sister herself. He added that he wrote a letter to his sister, and he also knew that his brother was still alive, and he had kept this matter a secret from everyone. He fell captive to the enemy during the war, and after that, they tortured him by killing his young son, and his limbs were also cut off. Now he could not satisfy his wife with the weapon, so he never left, and did not return to his house, but rather the news of his sister's death forced him to come here. And he further told them that his sister could not commit suicide because she promised him to meet him within a few days, and she wrote in her last letter that she wants to kick Mario out of her house. And now, there is a new twist in this case, as the police reopened the investigation and started a new investigation with Marco and John. John said that he overcame Mario very quickly and asked for the police's help. Marco also contacted the man who rented the bicycle to Mario, and then new witnesses gave their testimonies about the man who was on the bicycle. Based on the evidence, the police arrested Mario, but Mario felt embarrassed, so he escaped briefly from the police, asked for a grace period, and went to the bishop's room, and there he hanged himself after this incident. After a few days, John left all his property, and told Barbara that he will never return now, and he established his own company outside the country, and he is living his life happily there. Barbara bid him farewell, and he set off from there. Now, Mario committed suicide, and Marco and Barbara on that very same night, a love relationship bound them, and Barbara extinguished the raging fire of the body. Barbara is now married to Marco, and she gave birth to her child, and she wanted to live the rest of her life happily. But Marco refused, and went to the boat because he was not sure that it was him on the bicycle that night, and it was Mario, but he said something to Barbara, and she gave a false testimony to the police, so he feels that Barbara was behind all this. Thus, Marco bid her farewell forever, and he set off from there and went with his friends, and that is what happened. And this story ends here. If you liked the movie, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell button to receive everything new we offer.